The hilarious hunt. My husband's reaction. When I moved without him. Adam and I had been living in our tiny apartment for nearly 6 years. At first, it was charming. The little space seemed to pull us closer, and our tiny kitchen brought out a sort of domestic intimacy as we learned to cook together in the close quarters. But as time went on, the charm faded, and the small space started to feel more like a game of Tetris. Every time we brought something new home, we'd have to rearrange half the living room to make it fit. Adam, however, was oblivious to our ever-growing need for more room. He had a way of brushing off my hints. "Babe, this place is cozy. We don't need anything bigger," he'd say, like I was just a bit overdramatic for wanting to live without tripping over boxes of his comic books or squeezing around his gym equipment. So, after a lot of thinking, and probably too many late-night online searches, I finally decided to take action. I found a beautiful house on the other side of town. It had a sprawling backyard, high ceilings, and best of all, a room just for Adam's hobbies. It was everything I'd dreamed of, and I didn't want to wait around for Adam to finally admit we'd outgrown our apartment. So, as soon as he left for a business trip, I went into full moving mode. The moving day frenzy. It was chaotic, to say the least. I hired movers, packed up our belongings, and even managed to dismantle and reassemble his precious gym setup. With every item that left the apartment, I felt a little wave of relief. The movers raised their eyebrows as they carried out my mountain of books and his ridiculous weight set, but I didn't care. I was on a mission. By the end of the second day, everything was set up in the new house. The boxes were stacked neatly, our furniture was arranged, and I'd even decorated his comic room with his favorite action figures and posters. It felt like a dream, standing in this spacious new home, surrounded by everything that had once been crammed into our little apartment. I wanted to capture Adam's reaction when he saw it, but I also wanted to have a bit of fun first. I snapped a quick photo of the empty old apartment and sent it to him with a simple message. "Guess what? I moved. Without you." His first reaction. I had barely hit send when my phone started ringing. Adam's voice was a mixture of confusion and amusement. "What do you mean you moved without me?" "Exactly what it sounds like," I said, trying to hold back my laughter. "You remember how I kept saying we needed more space? Well, I found us a new place, packed up, and moved everything while you were gone." He laughed, though I could hear the shock in his voice. "I was only gone for a couple of days. You mean to tell me that, in 48 hours, you packed up our whole life and moved us to some mystery house?" I couldn't help but play up the mystery. "Oh, come on, Adam. I've been hinting at this for ages. Consider it a surprise adventure. All you have to do is find me." The hunt begins. At first, he thought I was joking, but as I continued playing along, he realized I was serious. He started listing off places, guessing which neighborhood I might have chosen or if I'd stayed close to our old apartment. I gave him little hints like, "We have a big backyard. The door is a different color than our old one, and there's a room just for your comic collection." Each clue only seemed to fuel his curiosity. Adam decided to go out and track me down, as he put it. I watched my phone light up with photos of random houses around town, each with captions like, "Is this it?" or "Found you yet?" Meanwhile, I was trying not to laugh too hard as I settled in at the new house, sipping on tea in our spacious living room while he practically ran laps around the city. The funny twist. After a while, I decided to throw him off by mentioning there were flower boxes in the windows. He'd found one place with flower boxes, but was convinced I was there, so he rang the doorbell of a poor elderly couple's house, thinking I might be waiting on the other side. He sent me a text saying, "Are you at the house with the big sunflowers?" I knocked, but no one answered. I lost it when I read that. "Oh, Adam, that's not it. Keep looking," I teased. He was getting tired, but stubbornly refused to let me win this game. After an hour or so, he called me, clearly out of breath. All right, I'm done. Just tell me where I'm supposed to go. My feet are killing me." I told him to head over to the corner of Maple Street and Fifth Avenue, adding that he'd see a yellow house with a blue door on the right. The big reveal. Finally, I heard his car pulling into the driveway. I opened the door, and there he was, standing on the porch with a mix of amusement and exhaustion on his face. He shook his head, unable to believe I'd pulled off such an elaborate surprise. "You really did it," he said, looking around as he stepped inside. "I thought you were joking." "Nope. Welcome to our new home." I gave him a little tour, showing him the beautiful kitchen, the open living space, and the large backyard. His face lit up when we reached the room I designated for his comic book collection. I had set up his bookshelves, displayed his action figures, and even hung up his prized superhero posters. "This is all mine?" he asked, his eyes wide. "Every inch," I replied with a grin. "I know you needed more space for your collection." He shook his head, laughing. "I can't believe you did this. You know, most people just bring their partner along to house viewings." "Well," I teased, "if you had actually listened to me about moving, maybe you'd have been here for the house hunt." Settling into our new home. After a few hours of settling in, we finally sat down together in our cozy new living room. Adam was still marveling at everything, especially how I'd managed to pull it all off in his absence. "You know," he said with a smirk, "I'm still in shock. I thought you were kidding about needing more space. But now that I see this, I get it." "Just remember that the next time I mention something like this," I said, poking him playfully. He grinned and wrapped his arm around me. "Don't worry, I won't underestimate you again. But you better believe I'm going to get back at you for sending me on that wild goose chase." "Oh, I'm ready," I said, laughing. "But I doubt you'll ever top this one." We both laughed, toasting to new beginnings in our beautiful new home. Looking back, I knew it would be a day we'd laugh about for years. And every time I saw him sitting happily in his comic book room, surrounded by his collectibles, I knew I'd made the right call, even if it meant moving without him, if only for a few days. When my husband refused to admit we'd outgrown our tiny apartment, I took matters into my own hands by secretly finding and moving us into a new home while he was away on a business trip. What followed was a hilarious game of clues and a wild goose chase around town as I watched him try to locate our new place. With each hint and every wrong turn, his curiosity and confusion grew. When he finally arrived, his reaction was priceless, and the surprise I had in store made it all worthwhile. Join me in this lighthearted story about love, laughter, and the unexpected ways we keep the spark alive.